Good evening and welcome. It's time to call this regular meeting of the San Felipe Del Rio CISD Board of Trustees to order, today being Monday, April 28th, 2025. Mr. Secretary, would you call roll for us?
Yes, sir. Mrs. Luna Chavez,
Present.
Mr. Almaraz,
Present.
Mr. Overfeld,
I'm here.
Mr. Mesa,
Here.
Ms. Webb,
Present.
Ms. Haynes.
Ms.
Sir.
Haynes, Ms. Haynes is going to be out.
Sir, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Let the record show that we do have a quorum of board members and that this meeting was duly called in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. This time we will have opening ceremonies. First, with a moment of silence for personal reflection, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. We're also going to have a moment of silence for one of our educators that passed away, Mr. Don Olivo, that worked at Head Start for a number of years. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. First item we have on our agenda is recognitions, and the first recognition we have is proclamation for the month of the military child. And I'll read the proclamation. Whereas Governor Abbott has proclaimed April as the month of the military child, whereas the month of military child is a time to honor the sacrifices made by military-connected children worldwide, and is a time to show support and thank military families and their children for their strength and sacrifices. Whereas the San Felipe Consolidated Independent School District is committed to easing transitions for children of military families and ensuring that they are afforded the same opportunities and educational success as other children and are not delayed in achieving their educational goals. Whereas San Felipe Consolidated Independent School District is honored to empower teachers and staff, children and their families, and provide sustained support to our young heroes and address their district needs as a transition between military installations and schools. And whereas San Felipe Del Rio CISD dedicates the month of April as Purple Up for the Military Kids Month for our young heroes, and whereas wearing purple during the month is a visible way to show support and thank military-connected youth for their strengths and sacrifices. Now therefore be it resolved, I, Raymond P. Mesa, San Felipe Del Rio CISD Board of Trustees, President, do hereby join the Honorable Governor of the State of Texas, Greg Abbott, in proclaiming April as a month of the military child. Proclaim this 28th day of April, 2025, in witness whereof I have hereto set my hand and sealed of the San Felipe Del Rio CISD District this 28th day of April, 2025, and that caused the seal to be affixed. I will present the award to Aurora Guerra, principal at RBB, and Jeanette Gomez. Could you come up? Liaison officer for Lawful Air Force Base. Just wanted to mention a couple of things. For this year, 2024, 2025, in Region 15, the schools that were designated as campuses to wear purple: Buena Vista Elementary, Ceniza Hills Elementary, Del Rio Freshman School, Irene Cardwell Elementary, and RBB, Robert Barrera Elementary. So thank you again, staff, and all the employees for wearing, again, purple. Next item we have on our agenda is proclamation for Autism Awareness Month. Autism, a lifelong neurological condition, affects 1 in 36 people worldwide. Although most patients are diagnosed in childhood, many are diagnosed as adults due to improvements in detection. As awareness increases about autism and its impact, such as communication and social impediments, so too does the use of detection tools. There is no single root of cause of autism, which is described as a disorder of a spectrum, on a spectrum. Early diagnosis and prevention, such as speech, occupational, and social interaction therapies, allow individuals with autism to lead fulfilling lives. People with autism have unique perspectives and abilities, and their talents and experiences enhance our great state. In Texas, we know that it is not our challenges that define us, but rather how we overcome them. Each year, the month of April is set aside in order to educate the public about autism, to promote early diagnosis and intervention, to advocate, and to continue research and celebrate Texas with autism. At this time, I encourage all Texans to learn more about autism as we support the individuals, healthcare providers, and loved ones who work tirelessly to improve outcomes. Together, we can celebrate those with autism and their stories. Therefore, I, Greg Abbott, Governor of Texas, do hereby proclaim April 2025 to be Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month in Texas, and urge all Texans to observe the occasions and appropriate ceremonies and activities. In testimony whereof, I have unto affix my signature on this 25th day of March 2025. So this was in March, okay. And some of the activities that occurred here locally, we had the 4th Annual Autism Awareness Day hosted by Consulado de Mexico, the 2nd Annual Swing for Autism event, City of Del Rio Proclamation, Val Verde County Proclamation, SPC Center was lit blue, and all campuses promoted awareness and acceptance. Again, I would like to present this proclamation to Monica Luna Garcia. Is she here? Special Ed Director. Okay, the next item on our agenda is item C, athletic all-state academics for Queens basketball and Queens soccer. Frenchie McCray.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the school board. We're extremely excited to be before you once again to honor some of our student athlete achievements that have been recognized across the state. Today we present Queens basketball, and Queens soccer with academic all-state awards. Representing Queens soccer for the Texas High School Coaches Association and Texas Association of Basketball Coaches. First and foremost, let me stop and say, I do want to say congratulations to our head girls basketball coach, Coach Marisa Soto, and our head soccer coach, Wilbur Rivas. If you would give them a hand, please. Not only do they do a good job stressing the importance of being successful on and off the court and on the field, but they also stress the importance of being in the classroom, and that's why we are here today. Representing the Texas High School Coaches Association as well as the Texas Association of Basketball Coaches, we have Ms. Natalie Delgado. Yolisbeth Flores. Aileen Hernandez Negrete. And Perla Rosas. Representing for soccer, the Texas High School Coaches Association, as well as the Texas Association of Soccer Coaches, we have Daniela Trujillo and Noelia Ibarra. Again, we thank you for your excellence on the field, on the court, and in the classroom. Thank you very much.
Center.
Oh, wait.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, students, again, for doing a great job, both physically and academically. Next item we have on our agenda is, again, all-state qualifiers, recognition, and state powerlifting champions. Frenchie McRae.
Good evening once again. Thank you again for allowing us to be here to present to you some of our student athletes. Today, we are presenting our Ram and Queen state qualifiers for powerlifting. Head coach Davis Gomez Jr. Representing Ram Power, we have Joaquin Fuentes, who represented in the 275 class. Wave at us, guys, so we know who you are. George Avalos in the 242 class. Jordan Castaneda in the 220 class. Luis Rodriguez in the 198-pound class. Tristan Coronado in the 165 class. And Thadio Talavera in the 123-pound class. Representing Queen Power, we have Casey Torres, who was a state qualifier, and she finished 6th place in the 165-pound class. Wave at us, ladies, wave at us. We have Isabella Valdez, who was also a medalist, 5th place in the 181-pound class. Miss Gabby Diaz, who was a state runner-up in the 114 class. And now we have Miss Chloe Juarez, who was a state champion in the 105 class. She's also a part of the Texas High School Women's Powerlifting Association All-State Academic Elite Team, and she totaled in lift 835 total pounds. And not with us today is is Miss Kayla Lomas. And she is our two-time state champion in the 97-pound class. She earned the honors of best squat. She earned the honors of best deadlift. She holds a state record with 350 pounds in squat. She is a 6A state record deadlift for 315 pounds, and she also holds a state record for a total of 800 pounds, and this is at 97 pounds. So before I run up there and take a picture, we just want to thank everyone. We want to thank our admin. We want to thank the school board for your continual support, to all of our principals, to parents, friends, and everyone who's come to celebrate with us. We could not do it without you. Thank you so much for your support. Have a wonderful night, and God bless.
Congratulations. Good job. Good job. Good job. Congratulations. You did good.
Congratulations. 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 Good job, man. Congratulations. Congratulations. Coach, congratulations.
Again, we're so amazed with the talents of all our young people. Again, to be able to accomplish such an important thing at the state level. Thank you again, teachers, administrators, and especially students for working hard. Okay, we have another recognition, and this is item 4D, all state qualifiers, Del Rio Middle School and Del Rio High School Band, Mr. Aldo Morales.
Good evening, President Mesa. Good evening, Dr. Rios and board members. On April 1st and 2nd, 3 concert bands from Del Rio High School and 2 concert bands from Del Rio Middle School attended the UIL concert and sight reading evaluation in Eagle Pass. For the concert portion of the contest, each band prepares 3 selections from a prescribed list compiled by the UIL and performed for 3 judges on stage. Immediately following their performance, each band reads a brand new piece of music to evaluate their music literacy skills in front of 3 judges. This part of the contest is known as sight reading. 2 out of the 3 judges determine the rating overall for the band. If a band receives a first division or superior rating out of 5 possible ratings in either concert or sight reading, they receive a first division plaque. If a band is awarded a rating of an excellent or second division, they do not receive anything for their efforts. If a band receives a first division in concert and in sight reading, the band is awarded the highest award possible, a UIL sweepstakes. I am proud to announce that all 3 high school bands and both middle school bands received the sweepstakes award. This is the first time in school history that all 5 bands in the district received sweepstakes. Additionally, all bands in the district perform music in the concert portion above the state minimum requirement for each of their respective classifications. The Del Rio Middle School non-varsity band is under the direction of Mr. Daniel White. The Del Rio Middle School Symphonic Varsity Band is in the direction of Mrs. Shelha Salinas. The Del Rio High School Concert Sub-Non-Varsity Band is under my direction. The Del Rio High School Symphonic Non-Varsity Band is in the direction of Mr. Matthew Escobedo. The Del Rio High School Varsity Wind Ensemble is under my direction as well. Mr. Eric Medina is the Director of Percussion for all of the bands in the district. Our Del Rio Band Cluster is the only school at this contest to have all 5 bands receive sweepstakes. Additionally, the Del Rio Middle School Symphonic Band and the Del Rio High School Concert Band and Wind Ensemble received unanimous First Division ratings from all 6 judges. If you notice, the Varsity Wind Ensemble's trophy is of considerable size. That is because it is awarded to the school's varsity band that receives a First Division rating in concert, sight reading, and in marching band. This year marks 10 years of consecutive First Division ratings in marching, which is the longest streak in school history. Congratulations to the students and the directors for their efforts.
Good work, sir.
Congratulations. Great job. Good job.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Good job.
Congratulations.
Thank
Congratulations.
you for your work, sir.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Good job. Congratulations. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Good work.
Congratulations.
Good work.
Mr. White, congratulations.
Congratulations, sir.
Mr. Morales, congratulations.
Again, thank you, students. Thank you, band directors. This is an awesome recognition. Again, especially in Eagle Pass. We don't have any citizens to be heard. That's another topic on the agenda. So again, no one signed up to the citizens' comments. Item 7 is our next item on the agenda, board members' report. Under the State Board of Education rule, completing required continuing education each year of service is a basic obligation and expectation of any sitting board member. As board president, I am required to announce the name of each member who has completed the required continuing education, has exceeded the required continuing education, and is deficient in meeting the required continuing education. The requirements for training are measured as part of the first anniversary of the date of the trustee's election or appointment, or 2-year anniversary of his or her previous training as applicable. They have to have a local district orientation to the Texas Education Code, post-legislative update to the Texas Education Code, team building, additional continuing education, evaluating student academic performance and setting goals, identifying and reporting abuse, trafficking, and other maltreatment of children, and school safety. To the extent applicable to each board member, I will announce the completion or deficiency as required training. For members who still have time remaining to complete the required training, I will announce those board members who have scheduled timely training and those who have not yet scheduled the training. I'm happy to report that Mr. Diego Almaraz has exceeded all training. Ms. Amy Haynes has exceeded all training. Mr. Jesus Galindo has exceeded all training. Mr. Joshua Overfelt has exceeded all training. Linda Guanajuato Webb has exceeded all training. I myself has exceeded all training, and Rebecca Chavez have exceeded all training required. So again, congratulations, board members. Makes it easy for me to make this announcement, and again, of the required training. Again, thank you for attending all the training sessions that are required. I appreciate each and every one of you for completing the training. That completes the report. We go to the next item, which is item 8 on the agenda, and the first item under 8 is Middle School Redesign Project. Sandra Hernandez.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. I am pleased to share with you and with our audience, both here and online, the project milestones that we have achieved for middle school redesign since September. So we are now in April, and a lot has been done with this particular project. Just as a recap, I noticed you see the timeline of events. You have a copy of the presentation with you. But beginning in September, the board approved the reconfiguration of middle schools. In October, we began the work. A lot of the production and changes for working with the demographer. We established a citizens committee who would help us make some recommendations, and we reviewed the rezoning options for those middle schools. We conducted several town hall meetings across the district, both on campuses and here at the SPC Center. In November, we began working with the board, and at that time, the board approved the third middle school principal. We went to 3 middle schools after the approval of the board. The Citizens Committee met to review the rezoning plan for Garfield. We shifted to looking at Garfield. We started to meet with our parents and had, again, more town hall meetings with the Garfield families. And we started to look at the staffing for principals, looking at staffing for their middle schools at the same time. We conducted meetings with CTE and with technology because we wanted to be able to prepare for the opening of the third middle school. We started to look for what are the course offerings that we were going to have at Garfield and at all the middle schools so that they would be in alignment. And also we looked at the technology needs for each of those middle school campuses. In December, we completed the District of Innovation process. So in looking at the CT courses that we were going to offer at middle schools, there was a need for us to expand the District of Innovation, and that was completed at that time. Our Citizens Committee started the process of looking at site visits, looking at construction projects, looking at projects for improving our facilities, and they began taking tours to various campuses and started to look at those things. They were also very beneficial in helping us look at some of the options for rezoning Garfield students and looking at plan options for what this would look like. And again, through their discussion, they were able to help us make decisions for that plan for rezoning of our elementary students. In January, we finalized those attendance zones for the elementary schools and middle schools. and began the recruitment campaign for new tech at San Felipe Memorial Middle School. Again, we had more campaigns and meeting with parents, talking to them about the options that we were offering at the middle schools, particularly at New Tech. Conversations with parents at the elementary schools to reintroduce them to the New Tech concept. And so that was held during January and in February. Also during February, the principals started to look at staffing patterns and look at what their staffing would look like both at the middle schools and then also at the elementary levels. By March, we began those notifying staff at the middle schools, and we started to prepare what those bus routes are going to look like for those students who were already zoned at the middle schools and elementary schools. We also reviewed, our department started to review special education units, the units that were held at the campuses, and started to review the needs district-wide. We also began the process of organizing the textbooks and the library books and having conversations as to how we were going to divide those books so that each of the campuses would have their equal distribution. And so that brings us here to April. And in April, the principals and the HR team are reviewing those final staffing scenarios. And they have, the operations team has already worked with our HR team to begin the process of the logistics of moving our teachers and helping them with the supplies that they need to pack and get ready for the transition. We also began the process of notifying Garfield staff, the teaching staff, and also the notification of middle school special ed teachers for those positions. So these are the project milestones up to April, and coming this May, there's still work to do. We're still right there at the brink of transition, and we still need to work with notifying all the paraprofessionals and office staff, notifying special education staff of their assignments, complete parent notification of those students that are attending the special education units and where they would be located. We were also working on completing those facility improvements to the Garfield middle schools and those improvements in preparation for the opening this fall. And also the completion of the improvements to Cody Wardlaw Gym. If you look, if you haven't had a chance to take a look, you're starting to see some of the changes for the gym, and which is really nice to see. Windows are changing, the framework is changing, and so a lot of those preparations behind the scenes are still moving forward. We are working towards the preparation for turf replacement at San Felipe Middle School practice fields, as well as the practice fields at Garfield. So there's still a lot of work to be done, but we're still moving full force. Very excited to see a lot of the things falling into place and still moving forward in preparation for the opening this fall. Are there any questions?
I'll turn it over to board members for questions. Sandra, I have one.
Yes, sir.
Or maybe a couple. Have you considered signage, anything that for, let's say, visually impaired or hearing impaired, anything that we need to put around the schools that we don't have currently?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mesa. Depending on the students that are assigned to the middle schools and their needs, we'll get that direction from that department, and that'll be part of this summer. But we have to wait and see. But Mr. Chapa, I'll ask Mr. Chapa to work with Monica to make sure that's a need, because we had not thought about that yet. But I'm sure that it wouldn't have slipped special ed because that's part of their role.
And do we have, I know we used to have Region 15 personnel come and train students that were, let's say, visually impaired, how to cross at intersections and so forth. Do we still have visually impaired?
Can you come to the podium, Monica? That's your department.
I haven't seen anyone, again, practice with students crossing busy intersections like Las Vacas Street.
Yes, good evening, President Mesa and board members. We do still work with Region 15. It's called Orientation and Mobility, O&M, and they'll come in and transition with any students that's visually impaired to make sure they can transition from all locations and into the cafeteria, the library. They'll teach them to use any of the, accommodations that they're currently using. We're also looking at transition plans that we'll do over the summer to go over their schedules for any of the transitions to facilitate that.
Okay,
And all signage, all required signage for cameras, camera relocation, furniture that the district had invested. We'll be transitioning all the middle school furniture to the appropriate campuses that they'll be housed at.
okay. And one other question that it might be, I don't know if it's your area or not, but those of us that have grown up in this area, we know that there's a stream of water going underneath Garfield School. Are there any areas that covers that might be lifted and perhaps,
We've worked closely with the transition, the fencing between Garfield and Blended, and it's very safe. Everything's that there's any type of running water, it's all been covered, and they're all gated.
so there's no danger of someone opening a cover like that?
No, sir.
No, okay. Okay. Anyone else?
I thought Mr. Overfield had a question.
No, it was just comments. I know it's a big undertaking. Thank y'all for going in and doing it and keeping us informed and and keeping the kiddos informed as they have been told what elementary they're going to, and the staff. I'm glad that, like I said, we're going to, provide that. The moving for them, and then the X amount of hours was for them to go in and set up. And I guess just the biggest thing over the summer would be just a continued PR campaign that, hey, remember, this is where your new middle school is going to be, and different things like that. And I know it'll be good. It'll be rough there at the beginning, but then it'll all work out. And
Yes, sir.
I
We'll
think it'll-
definitely work with the campus administrations and the parents to make sure that they have ample time to visit the new campuses.
Thank you so much. Sandra, thank you for, again, so much work that has to be done prior to us really relocating and moving students around. But thank you to all staff that were involved in, again, in looking at all these areas.
All hands were on deck, sir. So I want to thank our principals, certainly want to thank our directors. They've played a huge part of this, constant communication, constantly meeting. There were several meetings, and so this has been a great process. And so we continue that process in communicating with each other and ironing out anything that needs to be prepared for the upcoming weeks.
I think you have been very thorough in looking at all the areas. I think Ms. Webb had a question for you.
No, I don't have a question. Thank you for everything, Sandra. But I just wanted to point out on your PowerPoint for April, you have April 2024. So that might need a correction in case
Yes.
you're going to use this PowerPoint again.
Certainly will update that.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We go on to the next report, item 8B, Citizens Committee Update. Sandra Hernandez.
Thank you again. Once again, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. So when we met with the board way back, and we actually brought forth from your recommendations committee members who would participate in the Citizens Committee. And their role, just to talk a little bit about what their roles and responsibilities were or are, They assisted us with the demographic study, as I shared with you a little earlier, in preparing, looking at the study and being able to look at those choices for Garfield and having discussions. And so that brought about that particular discussion. Looking at the middle school redesign as a whole, being able to go through those middle school campuses, visit the site, what are the things that we needed to have in preparation for the opening of the campus. And then this third part is the facility improvement. And so looking at other capital campaign, those improvements that we have are other areas across our district and other facilities that we need to consider, and what are these needs. And so they provide input to be able to help us to look at things from their perspective as well, and to be able to prepare for the vision for the future for our district. So, here's some of the pictures. You may recall that when they did their visits, here's some pictures. They really enjoyed taking the time to look at all of the various campuses. They got to not only just look at the campus, they got a bus tour, look at the areas. You can see pictures of Buena Vista, San Felipe. They got to see the Del Rio Freshman campus. But they also got to listen to a couple of other improvements and needs, and the needs of RBB. That we know that we have a temporary facility at RBB, but also looked at the AC needs that we have across the district. So they had a presentation from Schneider Electric, and so they got to also listen to that. Here's the process, pretty much with the committee. We started to look at those projects. We got to see district-wide what are some of those really important needs, those that really are of huge concern to us. We looked at some of the we shared some of the district recommendations and certainly listened to committee's recommendations. But they also got to do another phase and another study, and that particular study is the financial analysis. So at this point, I'm going to introduce Amy Childress, who's going to help us take a look at that piece. So we looked at the financial analysis, and then I'm going to take you through the last two pieces of this particular flow chart, this process.
Good evening. As part of our 2024-2025 budget adoption, the district set our INS tax rate at 18.77 cents. This allowed us the opportunity for a defeasance or early repayment on a portion of our outstanding debt in order to allow us some interest savings. So on April 7th, 2025, we made an additional defeasance payment to our Unlimited Bond Series 2016. We made a principal amount payment of $1,220,000. That was in addition to our regular scheduled debt payments for this year. In doing so, this allowed us to also benefit in $394,800 in interest by making this principal payment over the life of these bond series. This next slide, this shows our current debt obligation as of today. So these are the current bond series that we currently have. The principal amount that was originally issued for these bonds was $64,784,993. As of today, our outstanding principal amount on these bonds is $39,039,993. The bottom section here of this slide shows our yearly debt payments out of our INS account. For instance, for 2025, Our total debt obligations for this year totaled about $5 million. Then, as you can see, for next year, our total debt obligations will drop down to about $3 million for the next 7 years. And then after that, with the current obligations that we have, it'll drop down to around $1 million as our yearly obligation. In working with our financial advisors and with the information that we currently have, we believe that we would be able to go out for a bond election this November and be able to issue bonds in the total of up to $60 million. We would do this by issuing 2 bond series. The first would be around June of 2026, and the principal amount of $32,500,000. And the second one, the date of delivery, would be issued in around June of 2028, and the principal amount of $27,500,000. So again, that would total $60 million in bonds. In doing so, as I mentioned, our current tax rate is 18.77 cents. Based on our estimations of our property tax values, we do not believe that in issuing the $60 million bond that we would have to raise our current INS tax rate in order to do so. We would be able to remain, our INS tax rate would remain at the 18.77 cents, even if we were to additionally go for the $60 million bond. And I know this is a little hard to see, but again, this is another analysis on our tax rate. And I'd like to point out this last column here, which again is our tax rate impact. And as you can see with our current bond obligations, our INS tax rate is the 18.77 cents. And if we were to issue this additional $60 million in bond, as you can see, it would remain at 18.77 cents. Again, no increase in the INS tax rate. And actually, in the year 2029, it would actually start lowering to 18.35 cents, and it would continue to go down as the series bonds were paid off. That's all I have.
Before we go to the next part, does the board have any questions about the financial analysis?
Board members?
Um,
Mr. Orfeld?
Not really a question, just I think it shows it goes in and shows the good stewardship and financial planning of finance department there, that we'd be able to go in and do that without having to increase the tax rate. There's a lot of school districts that can't say that by going in and asking for 60 million or so. So that's an encouraging number to see.
Thank you, Mr. Orfeld. Amy, I have just one question. I know in the past, we have had bonds and the wording still remains, this will be an increase, even though there's no increase, the wording remains. Is that the case?
Yes, Mr. Mesa, that's still part of the law. And we were discussing that with the committee at length. That's the law, and it's going to be our job to explain to the voters your taxes aren't going up. But I guess if they didn't pass the bond, their taxes would go down. So full transparency, the state forces us to do that.
Yeah, we have, on the state perspective, we have tried to change the wording, and for some reason they won't budge from that because it confuses the voters out there. This will be an increase to taxes being raised. And so it confuses people because we say no changes in tax, but yet the language shows otherwise.
The other part, the slide that we didn't include on here, Mr. Mesa, members of the board, is our comparison of our INS tax rate to other districts. And 50 cents is the cap for INS. We're obviously nowhere near the cap. We're at 18.77. And in comparison to other districts, we're fairly low. That's not to say that there aren't other districts that are lower than us, but we are fairly low in comparison to other districts that are at 50 cents, or because of devalued property, they're above 50 cents. So we're in a good place.
Okay. And again, thank you, Mr. Rofel, for acknowledging all the good work that goes on in the finance department. Just one other question, and I know there's still some days left in the 89th legislative session. Is there anything facilities coming about that you know, or Dr. Rios?
No, Mr. Mesa, they haven't talked about any facilities allotment money. What they have talked about is making it harder to pass a bond election. And that's a bill that they've entertained in the past. For example, not having a bond election in May, only in November. It's fine because we are planning to have a bond election in November versus May, if that's the wishes of the board. But they also want to limit the amount of bonds you can sell. Our financial advisor and our bond counsel will be on the lookout for any changes should they come. But the trend right now, the culture is to make it difficult, more difficult to pass bond elections rather than to provide help.
Well, it just, as a board, it just makes a lot of sense that it remains the same, you know, and again, the wording doesn't say it, but we know that as board members, that this would be a great thing to pay the debt and to do some much needed work. So, thank you again.
I have a few more slides.
Okay, so back to Sandra.
All right, so with this source of information, we turn to our advisory group, right, our Citizens Committee. Before I go into the next slide, I do want to recognize that we do have some of our Citizens Committee members with us today, and I'd like to recognize them. So I'd like to thank them for being here in support of today's presentation. So we
Sandra, can you mention them by name? We also have somebody in the back. She
Sure.
tries to be
if we can,
incognito.
there we go. So if you
Thank you
guys
for
can
being here.
stand up, and we have Cammie Mitchell, we have Lauren, thank you. I have a brain freeze right now. And Ms. Trevino. So we want to thank you, Ms. Martinez, for their service. They have been just really a wonderful group of people to really dialogue with and to really take a look at, you know, from their perspective, get to see, you know, what's going on with our facilities. And so they've been a great asset in the conversation. So thank you so much for your time and your work. And our work is not done, but we want to thank you so much for what they have done for the support of the Citizens Committee. So they took this information at this presentation last week. They had the opportunity to visit with our financial advisor, ask the questions. They see the finances, they see that the tax rate would not increase if their district were to move into a $60 million bond. So we went back and took a look at those capital improvement projects, the ones that they went to visit. And we looked at that, and we now put an estimated cost to it. So for an AC renovation project, it would cost $7 million. If we were to consider a new brick and mortar campus at RBB, the cost would be approximately $8 million. Consideration of renovation of Buena Vista, that would cost about $10 million. The renovation or reconstruction of the Del Rio Freshman Campus, that would cost an estimated $25 million. The renovation of San Felipe Memorial Middle School, that would be a cost of $15 million. And a consideration of replacing Garfield, a new elementary campus, and that would be a cost of $22 million. So we put the figures so that they could see this. And what we asked them to do next, we asked them two questions, two specific questions. The first question was, which of the projects should take top priority? And so they got to see this and work with me in being able to go through a live process, ranking process, and they got to see themselves rank this. They didn't know who was who, but this was the result. So which projects should take priority, the first that rose to the top was a renovation of the Del Rio Freshman Campus. The next was an AC renovation project, which was presented by Schneider. The third was the construction of a new brick and mortar campus for RBB at Laughlin Air Force Base. The fourth ranking was the renovation of the San Felipe Memorial Middle School campus. Fifth was the renovation of the Buena Vista. And then last was the construction of a new campus to replace Garfield. So you see their top priority. Question was first, how would they rank these projects? And then the last question that we asked them was, would you recommend a bond referendum for any of these projects? And so they have these options. The options were, yes, I recommend a bond referendum for one project with the highest priority, or yes, I recommend a bond referendum for projects with the highest priority, totaling $60 million. C, they weren't unsure whether the district should consider moving towards a bond referendum. And then D, no, they do not recommend a bond referendum. And so here are the results. The results, you see that the vast majority did recommend a bond referendum for the projects with the highest priority, totaling $60 million. So the Citizens Committee is making a recommendation that the board consider moving towards approving or seeking a bond referendum for $60 million and using the highest priority projects, which they ranked, to fit the $60 million. And that is the end of our update today. Are there any questions?
Before I turn it over to board members, I want to thank committee members for being here and for taking the time to attend the meetings. And again, it's always, we want to involve the community and the stakeholders in all the decisions we make in regard to, again, passing a bond or referendum or whatever you might want to call it. And of course, for looking at our buildings and seeing the needs that we have throughout the district. So I'll turn it over to board members for questions. Mr. Diego Almaraz.
First, like Mr. Mesa said, thank you all for undertaking the committee role. I appreciate it. And Sandra, thanks for putting this together. Just a couple or one question actually, was the committee able to, I guess, bring up their own projects that they would like to see other than these 6? Was there like an other category or anything discussed within that committee?
No, sir. We did ask the question early on, but the highest concern because of what trends were the AC issues. And once Schneider Electric made the presentation, they saw it was top priority. They did mention other things, but I think building a second high school was always mentioned. But I think that once we explained to them that there's a whole wing at the high school that could be empty at any time. As a matter of fact, if we were to remodel or redo the freshmen, that's an option to house some freshman students because we really don't have a need. But that was one thing that did come up.
And I guess the other thing is the recommendation with the with the 6 projects, either undertaking one, undertaking none, or undertaking all 6. And I think we see the need for that. And I think the committee spoke pretty loud that we need all 9. I mean, given we've been through our AC issues, our heating issues and all that stuff through the high school. So I think it's important that they've highlighted that as one of their top priorities. So again, thank you all for being on that committee and undertaking that role. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Almaraz. Anyone else?
No, go ahead.
Mr. Baldin?
I do just have a quick question. And again, it was along the lines of what Mr. Almaraz said in that, you know, if they did get an opportunity, but in looking at this, this would add up to about $85 million to do all these projects. So then looking at it, with anything that was left over, could that money be used for any ideas maybe that are kind of out there that maybe the committee would bring up or administration would bring up that would need to be fixed? Say, for instance, you ended up with $57 million or $55 million. There's $5 million left. Could that committee come back and say, can we fix certain other areas, or does it all have to be listed in the bond exactly what you're going to fix?
Great question. Right now, the way it stands is that we could list it very general to where we could say, and other improvements. However, if that bill passes, they want us to be very specific what we're going to do and to what percentage. I'm not a anti-government, but I hope that bill doesn't fail because it would be really restrictive. In this case, the numbers that we put together were just Mr. Chapa and my collaboration on what we believe the costs are. We've been pretty accurate in the past, and we've made it work. But to really find out what would cost, the next step prior to calling the bond election, we would have to hire an architect to give us a good endorsement of what our costs are. Like take, for example, RBB. We budgeted RBB to be right under $6 million. When we applied for the grant, they wanted us to make it $10 million just because it was grant money. Now, the reality is that we believe that we could do it easily for $8 million, maybe a little bit less. But the more advice we get from an architect, the better estimation we can make and possibly get more projects in there so that we can identify them early on. Because one thing we found out from the very first bond election that we experienced since I've been superintendent, we weren't very clear, and it failed for other reasons, but that was one of the issues. So we'd like to be able to give a real good indication of how much we would spend. I believe that we padded Buena Vista Elementary. I don't think it will cost $10 million because there's a lot already there that's been done. For example, they have a gymnasium, they have a loop, they have a larger parking space, but still, we padded it a little bit. But that would be the next step, sir.
Okay. Again, thank you for that, sir, and thank you again to our committee members. Thank you for all your input and your vision. That'll be it, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Galindo. Anyone else? Thank you again, Sandra.
Thank you.
Thank you. Board members, committee members for being here. Next item we have is item 8C, Facilities and Construction Update. Mr. Hector Chapa.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, members of the board. Tonight's presentation will provide an update on the ongoing projects, which consist of Cody Wardlaw Gymnasium renovation, as well as the HVAC equipment replacement project. Currently, we're proceeding with the ceramic tile floor and wall installation at the 3 restrooms. The project, that portion of the project is almost complete. They're actually placing the grout on the floors. They're estimating to be completed this coming Wednesday, worst case scenario Thursday. And the plumbing contractor's scheduled to come back to town on the week of May the 5th so they can proceed to installing the fixtures. Electrical continues to progress, as well as the window installation. The upper level windows that are on the longitudinal side of the buildings, the framing has been placed. The contractor is scheduled to go pick up glass tomorrow at San Antonio So hopefully by the end of the week, they'll have those windows completed. The ceiling, interior ceiling has been painted as well. There's I believe that's the girls' restroom, showing the tile already installed, as well as the ceiling grid and lighting completed in that area. The lighting in the main part of the gym has been completed as well. We still have some items to be completed, installing switches and receptacles in there. And the other picture on the left is part of the lobby area or main entrance. That already has texture and a prime material on it on the walls. We're waiting until the end to come in and put the finished coat of paint as well as the VCT tile.
Hey, Mr. Chapa, before you move on, our copies missed the timeline. Can you just go back so we can indicate the estimated completion of the project?
Yes, sir. We're estimating basically end of July, and we're padding that date a little bit because on the electrical, we're gonna have to install a new transformer, and in order to save money and not have to tear up too much of the area there, we're gonna repurpose the existing sleeves that are underground that feed the current transformer. So the plan is to put a new concrete pad adjacent to the existing transformer directly north of it. And in order to accomplish that task, the power has to be de-energized by AEP. So they're gonna put a temporary pole to the west of the transformer so we can feed the transformer and keep electricity on there. But that process will take about 6 weeks. So we're estimating that taking place early in June, and then our contractor would install, AP would install the new transformer, but we would have to run the new lines to the new transformer pad and so forth. And that would be the last item that would be delaying the project completion.
Yeah, absolutely.
But just to be clear, the new transformer is just that, it's a new transformer, but because of the temporary power, all the power would still be there. So if we had to use it with that pole, we very well could without missing any load.
So in the process of de-energizing, the new power would be overhead to that pole, and then from that pole would reconnect to the existing transformer, which still would feed the gymnasium.
Anyone else with a question? Mr. Chapa, will there be any cost overage with anything that, all this tariff talk and all the drywall has gone up, right?
Yes, sir. Well, right now, we do have a considerable pad in funding available still. We're hovering around $180,000 left over. There's items that are pending that are being brought to your attention later on in the meeting for fire safety and some additional items. And all those items are already included, and still we're hovering about $180,000 in leftover money. Everything else that's already been procured, so the tariffs are not affecting the project.
Okay, great. That's good to hear. So we're good with construction. We'll go on to the next phase.
Yes, sir. So the work orders, maintenance work order status for the previous 90 days, there was a total of 988 work orders created. 92% has been completed. For 0 to 15 days, 145 work orders were created, 86% was completed. 16 to 30 days, 181 were created, 97% were completed. 31 to 60 days, 363 work orders were created, 93% completed. 61 to 90 days, 299 work orders were created, 93% completed. Technology Department, previous 90 days, a total of 3,353 work orders were created, 89% were completed. 0 to 15 days, 371 tickets were created, 87% completed. 16 to 30 days, 938 work orders were created, 79% completed. 31 to 60 days, 1,164 work orders were created, 88% completed. 61 to 90 days, 880 work orders were created, 99% completed. Transportation, previous 90 days, 360 work orders were created, 98% completed. 0 to 15 days, 35 work orders were created, 89% completed. 16 to 30 days, 80 work orders were created, 98% completed. 31 to 60 days, 124 work orders were created, 98% completed. And 61 to 90 days, 121 work orders were created, 99% completed.
Board members? Everything looks good in transportation as far as the percentages.
Yes, sir.
I just had one question in regard to technology. I was so glad to hear, first of all, that CTE has introduced their cybersecurity curriculum. But in regard to that area, cybersecurity, have we purchased all necessary software and equipment for, again, protection of any threat? Dr. Rios?
Mr. Russell, we continue to work with Weaver Technology and maintain our vault. We think, obviously not immune from attack because they can always do that, but we can restore our equipment should it be necessary. I saw Mr. Salinas here earlier. I think he stepped out. But we're confident in our posture for security.
So we're still back in daily?
Yes, sir.
Back in, okay. Okay. No other questions. Thank you so much. Okay, next items are consent agenda. Again, one action will approve all items on the consent agenda. There are some minutes of some meetings that we've had, public hearing, as well as regular and special call meetings. There's some other purchases. If there's any item that needs to be pulled out, board members can do that at this point. I just want to say again, thank you for all the donations that have been made. They will be posted in social media. And again, as always, we appreciate every donation that comes from either individuals or businesses. Thank you again for supporting our different programs throughout the district. Are there any questions in regard to the consent agenda?
Sir.
Mr. Orfeld?
G1 and G4.
G1 and G4. Okay, G1, consideration to approve contract over $5,000 and the purchase over $25,000 with Brown & Brown Insurance Consultants in the amount not to exceed $35,000. Funding source, Fund 771, self-funded group health insurance. Amy Childress.
What's the question?
Just curious what we're paying them for there. What that payment's for.
Brown & Brown continues to be our consultants for insurance. They don't charge for the legal, I'm sorry, for the products that the employees select, but in terms of signing people up, the analysis, moving forward, the different bids that they do for us. Ms. Childers, am I leaving anything out in terms of?
Okay.
They still serve as our third-party administrators, and like I said, they are our representatives between Blue Cross Blue Shield and any enrollment questions that we have and things like that, yes.
Okay.
For our current policy.
Cool. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else?
No, he had another question, sir,
Oh,
for
you
item
have another
4.
question.
No, just on G4.
Oh. G4?
Yes, sir.
Okay, consideration to approve contract over 5,000 and purchase order over 25,000 with Capturing Kids' Heart in the amount not to exceed $76,500. Funding source, Fund 270, supporting effective instructional rural and low-income schools. Professional development sessions to middle school staff and culture building strategies with students. So this is something that is ongoing, Dr. Rios?
Well, now that we are going to 3 middle schools, we wanted to make sure that we established the climate and culture as best as we could. Staff development for teachers, it's a program for teachers on how we work with students. And in the past, we brought Capturing Kids' Hearts to the district, but there was no focus, it was district-wide. This time, we want to focus on Del Rio Middle School, on the 3 middle schools, San Felipe, Del Rio, and Garfield. It does seem like a large amount, but it is 9 full days of training, 3 per campus. It'll be during the back to school training. And then there will be ongoing support throughout. Now, the ongoing support is also going to cost, and we have to decide if we're going to move in that direction. It is a considerable amount of money, but it is a tremendous program. And we think the middle schools are going to be the right size and the kids are the right age to benefit from this type of support.
Okay, so my questions on it. Back in about 2016 is when we first rolled this out because I know teachers look at the agenda because I saw screenshots pop up of this particular item, and then I saw comments, and and people sent it to me and were asking about it. So it rolled out in 2016 and then just kind of fell off the radar at some point. But there's concerns with some teachers have expressed some concern about bringing this back in because of ultimately lack of support between the teachers implementing it and administration who are running the campuses there. According to how it used to be there, it was all centered around a whole social contract, and the social contract between the teachers and the students, and if it was broken, there was some talk and stuff like that as it was set up to be, and then if it's broken again, it's to the office, and that's where the disconnect seems to go in and be happening. And I've got some really interesting anecdotes about how they felt about it, but I'm just curious as to why, and I'm not curious why. I see why, because we're going to 3 middle schools there, but why we tried it and it just kind of fell by the wayside. Now all of a sudden we want to try and pick it back up. There, like you said, it's a lot of money, and then there's going to be more money that has to go in and be spent. So if we're going to throw down this amount of money, I want to be sure that what they're told and what they do in the classroom is backed up in the office when it comes to discipline. You know, none of this, well, that's a social contract and the school doesn't actually have those rules. The district's different or the campus is different. That was the biggest point of contention that I got over this last week, was a complete disconnect between what the program was supposed to do and what admin was doing. So before we throw that money down, I just want to be sure that we're going in and we're doing this, because they're worried about this coming back based on the multiple calls and text messages that I got.
Sure. I think that the concerns, because there wasn't enough support in the beginning, we didn't follow through with the additional support from Capturing Kids' Hearts to make sure that there was a clear understanding with everybody on campus as to what the expectations were, because we don't want it to sound like a gotcha thing for students either. Hey, we said this, that, and the other, and you didn't do it, so now we got you. we have to be careful that that doesn't happen. So we need to make sure that the teachers, the administrators, the students, that they all have an understanding of the culture that we're trying to build. And that takes a lot of work. So I'm not saying that it was any one particular person's fault. I think it's the understanding and the support that the program got. We probably looked too broad to implement it. We want to focus at the middle school. A team from each school has already gone to a free training in Dallas to make sure that there's a clear understanding up front, and that there is a team on each campus that supports it. So I feel positive. I'm convinced that this is the right approach. We just need to continue to support it so that everybody understands their part, so that the students appreciate the existence of the project, so that the teachers are able to implement it in a way that they are supporting the goals of the project and they are being supported as they implement it. Very confident that it's the right thing. Does it require work? Yes. Will there be more work? Yes. But it's the right thing to do for the middle school.
Okay, and again, I get that. I just want to make sure this go-round, like you said, that it's fully supported, this go-round on the three campuses, so, okay.
Question, Mr. Galindo.
With that being said, is there a way to get a follow-up of how well this program was implemented and what the outcomes have been from each campus to, show you how it's been on school performance, discipline, and what the outcome has been in these campuses? Maybe to get something starting next semester?
Yes, Mr. Allen, I think it would be a good idea if we had not the principals from the three campuses, but perhaps the cohort and Ms. Solis, Ms. Pond, Mr. Jurado. What's the name of the group in the campus? Is there a title for the group that's the guiding coalition for the capturing kids' hearts? Is there a name for it? Okay, so we'll have members of the PBIS team. If we can all, my chief academic officer and the high school principals, if we can get a note so that we can put on the deadline matrix to make those presentations to the board. Not a board update, but I'd like for them to hear from the teachers so they can express to the board what's needed for further implementation, for the support, and what's going really well. Thank you.
Dr. Ruiz, I had one question in regard to the fund. What is the funding source here? 270.
It's a grant fund that Jane administers. Ms. Viral, could you just tell me what else we've funded in the past through this grant? It's
No,
not.
that's enough. If it's a grant, that's
It's a grant.
okay. And I just want to caution board members of using social media. I worked 37 years with the district, 14 as a teacher, 23 as a principal. You're never going to satisfy every employee 100%. If you get a call from a teacher or a text message, that doesn't mean, you're elected to make decisions on this dais this year, not from a social media text. So I just want to make board members aware of that. Also, any legal authority will tell you that if you're using a phone, it becomes public record. Whether it's closed session or open session, it becomes public record. So I really would like for you to make decisions based on your knowledge of instructional materials and of the responsibility of being a board member. That's just a statement. Mr. Orford?
Okay. So the individuals who elected me, the vast majority of them were employees there, and I represent the employees and the taxpayers of the district there. So if they reach out to me if they go in and they reach out to me with concerns, I'm going to listen to those concerns and bring those concerns forward. there, whether it's through my official Facebook page, whether it's through my phone, that people go in and have the number, whether they stop me in H-E-B or Walmart or wherever it goes in and happens to be, I'm going to listen to all that and bring those concerns up, because, yeah, I'm trying to do what's best, because we had this particular program. We had the program almost 10 years ago, and it just kind of sputtered out, and now we're bringing it back. And I guess the leeriness of it was initially, and the administration has admitted this, that it wasn't fully supported. And this go-round, they're acknowledging that they will fully support it. So, employee reaches out to me, taxpayer reaches out to me, I'm going to listen to them, because those are the ones who put me up here.
No, I understand that. They approach us all the time, HEB, at home, everywhere, but not during the meeting and not during the text message from one employee, because that doesn't represent, again, the entire faculty or the entire.
It wasn't during a meeting. I was referencing my notes from where they had sent it a couple of days earlier. But I understand.
That's, okay. Again, we appreciate all the donations that have been made. Anyone else want to bring any other item from the consent agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval. Mr. Galindo, is there a second? Ms. Becky Chavez, all those in favor? Motion carries. Consent agenda is approved. We go on to administration. First item we have is item 10A, consideration to approve first reading of TASB Localized Policy Manual Update 124, Part 2, affecting policies DH Local, EHB Local, EHBB Local, FFG Local, GKA Local. Sandra Hernandez.
Good evening once again, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. The district's Policy Review Committee met on Thursday, April 17th, to review the second set of policy drafts presented by TASB Local Policy Manual 124, and they are as follows. So the Employee Standards of Conduct Policy, which is DH Local, has been revised to include the provisions addressing the possession or use of tobacco, nicotine products, vaping devices, and e-cigarettes on school property, in a district vehicle, or while attending an off-campus school-related activity. Recommended revisions to EHB Local Special Programs reflects updated administrative code rules addressing dyslexia and related disorders. And so this policy basically includes the references to the dyslexia handbook. Changes to the Texas State Plan for Education of Gifted and Talented Students approved by the State Board of Education in September 2024, prompted updates in terminology with EHBB Local. Recommended revisions at funding are to align the text with requirements in the Education Code. Under FFG Local Policy regarding child abuse and neglect, there's a new subsection on oral reports that's being recommended to comply with the revisions to the Family Code and the Administrative Code. And there are also recommended revisions at making a report that clarify new requirements in the Education Code, stating that reporting individuals must provide their name and contact information when making a report. And finally, the recommended revisions to GKA Local Community Relations, Conduct on School Premises, relates to parents and visitors, and it's similar to the DH Local, in which it relates to parents and visitors and includes the rule prohibiting smoking, the use of tobacco products, e-cigarettes, vaping products, and any other devices on district property.
Thank you, Sandra.
Are there any questions in relation to any of these policies?
board members. Just something interesting that I know at the last committee meetings that we've had on policy review committee, we've had few board members attend. And so one of these that's very important is any employee, if they use a vehicle that belongs to the transportation or to the district, they cannot use any tobacco products, whether it's chewing tobacco, smoking. So, you know, in the past, I know that, you know, this has been observed by everybody else, and board members included. They see employees smoking, and this is a complete restriction from using tobacco products. So that's something that needs to be really communicated to all employees, whether bus drivers, custodians, if they're using a vehicle from the district.
Yes, sir.
So some interesting discussion that goes on in Policy Review Committee. Okay, so this is considered the first reading.
Yes,
Okay,
and I'll make the recommendation.
yes.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the first reading of TASB Localized Policy Manual Update 124, Part 2, affecting policies DH Local, Employee Standards of Conduct, EHB Local, Curriculum Design, Special Programs, EHBB Local, Special Programs, Gifted and Talented, FFG Local, Student Welfare, Child Abuse and Neglect, and GKA Local, Community Relations, Conduct on School Premises, as presented.
Heard the recommendation, motion by Mrs. Webb. Is there a second? Mr. Almaraz, all those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Item 11, curriculum instructions, consideration to approve the certification of provisions for instructional materials survey, formerly known as the TEACS certification process for the 2025-2026 school year. Jane Villarreal.
Good evening, Board President Mesa, Dr. Rios, members of the board. This board agenda item is regarding the certification of provision of instructional materials survey. This is annually done and formerly known as the TEAC certification process. So in accordance with the Texas Board Code 31.1011, local education agencies are required to certify annually to the State Board of Education and the Commissioner that students have access to instructional materials covering all TEACs for all required subjects except for physical education. Additionally, we are required to certify that these instructional materials protect against access to obscene or harmful content in compliance with the requirements for certification under the Children's Internet Protection Act. So the TEACS certification form for this year does include a section that allows us to certify that we have met this requirement. This year's process includes the completion of the form, which you have in your board book. Also, the ratification by the LEA's Board of Trustees in an open public notice meeting. And then, of course, the submission of the survey electronically as we upload the signed form. Please note that page 7 and page 12 of your board book does include an edited, it has an edit to that section on page 7 to include Bluebonnet Learning for ELA K through 5 and Bluebonnet Learning for Math K through 5. Those are being considered currently through surveys with our staff. And so with feedback, those are considerations. So we went ahead and added them to your board book. And again, it's if in case we move that way to adopting those two, okay? Again, the survey is web-based, and so we'll submit these responses that you have in front of you in your board book once we collect the signatures from our board president and our board secretary this evening, then it will be submitted electronically. Okay. And that's basically it. You have any questions?
Any questions from board members? None? Okay, recommendation, please.
Yes. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the certification of provision of instructional materials survey, formerly known as the TEAC certification process for the 25-26 school year, and gives approval for the board president and board secretary to sign the form as confirmation of compliance meeting the certifications outlined above.
For the recommendation, there's a motion by Mr. Galindo, seconded by Mrs. Webb. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. We don't have anything under technology and operations. We go to item 13, business and finance. Consideration to approve resolution regarding review of the investment policy CDA local to include independent sources of instruction for the training of investment officers and resolution adopting investment policy and strategy and authorized broker-dealer list. Amy Childers.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. This is an annual review that's required of our local policy CDA. At the March board meeting, the first reading was approved, and then this evening, as part of the consent agenda, the second reading was approved. The only changes to the policy were verbiage recommendations that were proposed by TASB. There were no material updates to the policy. It was also reviewed by our investment advisors, and they did provide us with the approved broker-dealer listing.
Questions from board members? Hearing none. Recommendation?
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the resolution regarding review of the investment policy CDA local and broker-dealer list.
Heard the recommendation. Is there a motion? Okay, motion by Ms. Almaraz. Here we go again. Ms. Almaraz, second by Becky Chavez. All those in favor? Motion carried. None. I'm sorry, guys, but I was taking some real strong medication. I'm not on that medication anymore. I should be focused. Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Item 13B, consideration to approve submittal of the Head Start Continuance Funding Grant application in the amount of $2,844,626 with non-federal share of $711,156 for a total amount of $3,555,782 to Region 6 Head Start Office, along with annual report to public, self-assessment, community assessment, training and technical assistance plan, cost allocation plan, selection criteria, program goals, and school readiness plan. Dr. Alana Talamantes.
Good evening. On behalf of the Irene C. Cardwell Head Start Families and Children, I will be presenting the submittal of the Head Start grant for you. For our Head Start funding, the Head Start program operations is at $2,878,317 with a funded enrollment of 346 Head Start children. Our Head Start training and technical assistant funding level is at $32,396 with a total funding of $2,910,713 for the enrollment of 346 children. Current enrollment for Head Start is our funded enrollment of 346 Head Start students, 78 pre-kindergarten students, 25 membership students, and 32 students serviced by the early childhood special education with a total enrollment of 481 students. Our cost allocation plan with the school district for salaries, the Head Start program pays 65%. Out of the personal salaries is $2,070,841 for 65%. Head Start grant will pay $1,246,047. 35% provided by the school district is $724,794, with a total of being $2,070,841. For fringe benefits, Head Start 65% is a total of $425,115, and the district's allocated amount is $228,908, with a total of $654,023. To submit the grant application, we have to annually update the following reports. We have our annual report, which inclusive of the grant funding, what we use our budget for, proposed budget for our fiscal year, results from the financial audit that's presented by Ms. Amy Childress to our Policy Council and her department. We also continue to report on health information and disabilities for our children who receive medical and dental exams. Our next report that has to be done annually is also our community assessment, how the program works with the city of Del Rio and with the Val Verde County, and we focus on the strengths and the needs, and we collaborate with each other. Another report is our self-assessment, which we conduct annually. On this report, we document and provide data to the National Office of Head Start about our child assessment, the professional development that we provide for our teachers, and any other services that we give for our family. Other reports that have to be submitted to the National Office of Head Start include our program goals, our family engagement plan, and our school readiness plan, where we make sure that our children who are 4 that are going to enroll in kinder, it's a smooth transition, and we have them kinder ready. For our grant application process, one of the requirements is also to make sure that we comply with the ERCIA, which is the eligibility, recruitment, selection, and enrollment and attendance process for children that enroll at Head Start. So when a student enrolls for Head Start, we have to make sure that they are 3 or 4 before September 1st, that they either qualify based on income, being that they live below the poverty line. Also, if you automatically qualify if you are in SNAP, if you are homeless, and if you are currently in foster care. Memorandums of understanding that we want to get submitted for education and health. We have Bible Way, Sacred Heart Catholic Church, JD's Academy, Kids Playhouse, Kids Zone, Preschool and Youth Center, Sunnyside Daycare, Amigo Children's Dental, Early Childhood Services, Frontera Pediatrics, United Medical Centers, Women, Infants, and Children, Val Verde Regional Medical Center, Family Services that we have memorandums of understanding, Banco Internacional de Alimentos, Baptist Children Family Services, Health and Human Services of Del Rio, Border Federal Credit Union, the Bethel Center, Casa de la Cultura, Del Rio Fire and Rescue, Middle Rio Grande Workforce Solutions, People Ready, Texas A&M Life Extension, Services, Texas Health and Human Services, Val Verde County Library, and Val Verde Sheriff's Office. Those are the memorandums of understanding that we would like to submit to the board. Next, we just wanted to do a special tribute to Don Olivos, who dedicated his whole educational career to Cardwell Head Start, which was over 26 years. Thank you for your time on behalf of the children and families of Irene C. Cardwell Head Start and Pre-K.
Questions from board members? Dr. Alana,
Yes, sir.
this year the cost of living allocation was
They didn't provide
zeroed
it
out.
to none of the Head Starts. They blocked that grant.
So this is the first year?
Yes.
Have you heard anything about funding for Head Start for next year?
It's under observation. There's a lot of talk that it may not be funded any longer under this current administration. I know for the grant that when we wrote it this year, we had to exclude anything that had DEI, the diversity, equity, and inclusion. For our grant, some things that didn't apply, like we had to make sure that nothing says transgender on it. So there was lots of specific things now from the National Office of Head Start because of the federal funding under the Health and Human Services that we had to go in and do.
Yes, the reason I ask is my understanding that Head Start does not appear on the budget for next year, as far as federal budget.
Correct. Their Congress has to take a vote to see if they will continue any funding for Head Start.
So is there a concerted effort from any Head Start?
Oh, yes. They just celebrated their 60th birthday. They do have letters. They did invite us, and I requested Dr. Rios' permission to invite our representative, Tony Gonzalez, to come visit Head Start. They are having marches in Washington, D.C. They have coalitions and lots of cohorts to let them know how much Head Start funding is important to keep them going.
Because there's a lot of strong points that need to be prioritized in regard to, it helps families, that don't have any other means of childcare. And the most important thing is they're getting an early start to education, which is going to be, the key to prevent these children from going back into poverty and families that are struggling to make ends meet. But more importantly, again, it helps the community out because, again, these families are working and you're opening doors in regard to the differing offers, socially, emotionally,
Yes,
health,
educationally, achievement,
social
everything.
services. Everything is provided by Head Start.
Yes.
And so I hope that there's the big word that goes out to Washington is very much needed in every community.
Yes, there's petitions and things that they're asking for everybody's support.
So what would the plans in regard, if I ask you, what would you plan if there's no funding?
Well,
I think, Mr. Mayor,
Dr. Rios?
Dr. Rios and I.
I think that question is
Yeah.
maybe direct for Amy Childress and the rest of the, the rest of the team. But we saw the numbers that she put up there as far as the district match and what the district provides and what the federal government provides. But a couple of things that we have to keep in mind is if Head Start is not part of the budget, the first part is that it wouldn't cease immediately. We would have, I believe, a few months to figure it out. The second part is that possibly the state may come up with some funding, depending on what version of the funding bill is passed. And I'm confident that everybody's going to do the right thing, including us at the local level. So if something happens federally, we're not going to just say the program's over. None of the communities are going to do that. We might have to figure out how to fund it, and it may be a little difficult. We may not be able to fund it how it's funded right now, so we may not have all the positions that Head Start currently has. But I think that the board would hold us accountable for continuing to have some type of program. And I'm confident that in working with cabinet and the board, we would have some type of Head Start or pre-K program moving forward. Maybe not under the title of Head Start, but under the title of pre-K.
Is there any way we can come up with something, Amy, in regard to plans, like if legislation goes on to say that we're going to pay 100% or let's say full day pre-K because we're getting half day attendance, even though we're full day, we're getting half day
ADA.
funds. If they approve full day funding, could we make a projection as to how many children we could serve? Or is that too early to do, Dr. Rios?
Well, first we'd have to know the parameters of the law, and then we can make a prediction because we don't know who they would qualify to be funded. But as soon as we know exactly what the legislature is going to pass, we can make all those impact statements to determine that. But what I'd like for the Cardwell staff to have in mind and the parents is that we don't want to be distracted by what the federal government does. We'll, Dr. Talamantes asked me about, signing the letter and about visiting, inviting the congressman to come here. I told her that I wanted to talk to some people about signing the letter. I'm just, once we release the letter, we don't know how they're going to use it and how they're going to use the name of the district, so I want to be careful with that. But we talked about inviting the Congressman, Tony Gonzalez, to come forward. So she'll do that. But again, I just don't want the staff at Cardwell or the parents to be distracted by what's going on in DC. We will come up with a solution. It may not be the exact picture that we have right now, but I think that the board would be committed and hold us accountable for finding a solution. I think that for now, that's all we can say. And as soon as the state legislature comes up with something, or the federal government, we will be ready. We have some ideas, but for me to say them publicly right now wouldn't make sense, because we don't know if it would be option A, B, C, or D that we come up with, make the program work. But rest assured, we would.
And the reason I'm asking for a plan of action, because I think all of us on the board here would like to perhaps cut down on some construction or renovation until, we find an answer to serving all these students, because these parents are going to go without, again, their children's education, as well as, caring for their loved ones at home and staying home, not working, and so not being productive in regard to raising the family, because everybody needs to work. And so it's a big impact, a negative impact, if we don't have Head Start.
Correct.
So I think the reason I ask is because, sometimes we have major projects that cost $450,000, and, we just have to be cautious about that. As soon as we know something about funding full-day pre-K, then we can start making a decision here. Ms. Webb, you had your hand.
I just needed to say that Head Start is not a daycare service. It's a fully funded program that educates the 3 and 4-year-olds. And Alana's very well, or Dr. Talamantes is very well aware of the fact that a lot of our Head Start teachers have even presented at Texas A&M University. They've presented in Dallas. They were even in the Texas Magazine for what they were doing in science in the areas for 3rd and 4-year-olds. And for them to be able to present at A&M in language, it was amazing to see these teachers do this, because Head Start is needed. And if Congressman Gonzalez can be here to see this, and maybe not just him, there's other congressmen out there that will, that will be more than glad to come and see what we do. Because our Head Start program here in Del Rio was one of the top ones, as far as I can relate back, unless I'm not correct in stating that. But in comparison to the other Head Starts around the area, this Head Start was one of the best ones, because of what the program does for our students, for the families, but most importantly, the education that starts with the 3 and 4-year-olds.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, by all means, it's not a daycare, it's an educational
Right.
program, and it does a whole lot of good in all the areas.
It does.
So again-
And, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, Irene C. Cardwell, even during COVID, maintained their 346 in funded enrollment. We're one of the main ones in Texas that do that annually. They've closed down Head Starts in McAllen because they couldn't get their funded enrollment, and also in Laredo. Every assistant has their CDA credentials. I also we have 20 CTE student educators. We got them in a program where they earned their CDA, a national certification, and they're going to complete their CDAs when they graduate high school. And we're going to sponsor one senior to pay for her CDA.
Yeah, and to point out the local Head Start program, the school district is a grantee,
Right.
which
School
90% of the Head Start programs don't have a school
Exactly.
district.
Yeah, we're in a
That is
very
a
good
grantee.
situation where you provide transportation, facilities, technology, professional
So,
development.
any questions for Dr. Lana? No further questions? You want to read the recommendation, please?
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the submittal of the attached application for the Head Start Continuance Funding Grant for the 2025-2026 fiscal year, along with the annual report to the public self-assessment, our community assessment, training and technical assistance plan, cost allocation plan, selection criteria, program goals, and school readiness plan to be submitted to the appropriate Head Start headquarters as presented and authorized by Mr. Raymond Mesa, San Felipe Del Rio CISD Board President to sign.
Okay, Dr. Lana, does that include portion B and C memorandum?
Yes, I have a separate one for the memorandum.
A separate one?
Mhm.
Okay. You've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion? Motion made by Mr. Webb, seconded by Becky Chavez. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
We go on to item C, consideration to approve a memorandum of understanding in accordance with section 642E5 of the Head Start Act. Head Start agencies grantees are required to enter into a memorandum of understanding MOU with appropriate local entities. Dr. Alana Talamantes.
It is a recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the memorandum of understanding and authorize the superintendent to sign the memorandum of understanding as presented.
Heard the recommendation. Mr. Olindo made a motion, seconded by Becky Chavez. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
We're down to item 14, human resources. Consideration to approve the conversion of general maintenance worker position to an electrician apprentice position for the maintenance department. Amy Childress.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. This evening, administration is requesting the approval of the conversion of a general maintenance worker position to an electrician apprentice position for the maintenance department.
Any questions for Amy? None? Okay, recommendation.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the conversion of a general maintenance worker position to an electrician apprentice position for the maintenance department.
For the recommendation, motion made by Ms. Orfeld. Is there a second to the motion, Ms. Almaraz? All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item C, discussion possible action to approve employee job description. B, consideration to approve the conversion of multimedia production coordinator to multimedia technician. Amy Childress.
Good evening once again. Yes, administration is requesting to convert the position of a multimedia production coordinator to a multimedia technician.
Any questions regarding that? No? No questions.
Sure.
Recommendation.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the conversion of multimedia production coordinator to multimedia technician as presented.
For the recommendation, motion made by Mrs. Webb, seconded by Mr. Galindo. All those in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item D, consideration to approve the updated 2024-2025. Discussion possible action to approve employee job descriptions and evaluation forms.
Yes, good
Oh.
evening. Administration did provide to you an update to the multimedia technician job description and evaluation forms, and we're just requesting for the approval this evening.
Okay. So,
Supports item B. Item C supports item B.
okay, item C supports item B. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any questions from the board? Hearing none.
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the employee job description and evaluation forms as discussed.
You've heard the recommendation. Motion made by Mr. Almaraz, seconded by Ms. Orfeld. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Item D, consideration to approve the updated 2024-2025 district compensation plans. Amy
Yes.
Childers.
Thank you. Yes, sir. This evening, we have a couple updates to our compensation plan. The first one is on page, I believe, 311, on the administrative professional pay plan. We are removing the coordinator multimedia, the production that we just discussed. That is under pay grade 2. On the administrative professional pay plan under pay grade 5, we are also removing the director of fine arts position, which we had done earlier in the year. On page 315, we are adding under the auxiliary plan on the pay grade 4, we are adding the electrician apprentice that we just converted. And then for our summer school rates, we are updating the hourly rate for bus monitor, critical needs assistant, and custodian to $15 an hour. We are removing the lead teacher and student aides MEEP students. We are adding student workers that are 16 plus years old to a $10 hourly rate. And we're updating the tutors to a $12.34 and a $14.79, just because it's an hourly rate instead of, for summer, they usually don't work a full 8-hour day. So it just calculates it at the hourly wage.
Questions for Amy? No questions? Okay, no questions. Recommendation.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the updated 2024-2025 district compensation plan as presented.
For the recommendation, the motion made by Mr. Galindo, second made by Ms. Almaraz. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Item E, consideration to approve the stipend payments to teacher incentive allotment designees. Amy Childers.
Good evening once again. The teacher incentive allotment amounts have been released for the 2023-2024 designees, and we did provide the board with a listing of the designees per campus and the allotment amount that they generated. The district will be paying out these stipends in 2 payments. The first will be by May 9th. The second will be by August 31st.
Questions for Amy? Hearing none.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the stipend payments for teacher incentive allotment designees.
For the recommendation, motion made by Ms. Horfeld, seconded by Becky Chavez. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Student Services, item 15A, consideration to approve the submission of an application to the Texas Education Agency, TEA, for a low attendance waiver day. And Laura Sandate, or
I'm stepping
Amy
in.
Childers?
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. Administration is requesting permission to apply for a district-wide low attendance day waiver for Tuesday, January 21st, and Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025. On these days, weather reports forecasted dangerously low temperatures and wind chill factors for the morning hours. As a result, our calculated attendance rate for Tuesday, January 21st was 60.27%, and for the 22nd was 75.95%, which is more than 10% below the overall 2023-24 average attendance rate.
Questions from board members? Amy, why don't we wait so long to submit?
So on these, we held them just because we were experiencing a couple more days of weather that we weren't sure, and we were getting close to using all of our low attendance waiver hours, so we just wanted to make sure there weren't any other days that we might need to use it for before we brought it to the board.
Okay. Okay. Recommendation.
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the submission of the application to TEA for the district-wide low attendance waiver.
At the recommendation, motion made by Mr. Webb, seconded by Ms. Maraz. All those in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the time is 8:05 PM. We're going to go into closed session pursuant to 551.074 and 551.071. If any action is required, it will be taken upon reconvening into open session. We are now in closed session. Okay, the time is 9:10 PM. No action was taken in executive session. We're reconvening into open session. We're down to item 18A, consideration to approve the personnel report to include the following. New hires, district vacancies, retirements, resignation. Amy Childress.
Good evening. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the resignations and retirements discussed in closed session and following new personnel. David Cohen, Assistant Band Director at San Felipe Memorial Middle School. Arturo Padilla, CTE Project Lead the Way Engineering Teacher, Del Rio Middle School. Casey Blake, Mathematics Teacher, Del Rio Middle School. Caitlin Winter, Assistant Band Director at Del Rio Middle School. Betsabe Encinas, Mathematics Teacher at Del Rio High School. Samantha Snyder, Mathematics Teacher at Del Rio High School. And Araceli Mitchell, CTE Project Lead the Way Engineering Teacher at Del Rio High School.
You've read the recommendations. Is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Ms. Overfeld, seconded by Becky Chavez. All those in favor? Motion is approved.
Thank you.
Item B, consideration to approve the position of Fine Arts Coordinator. Amy Childress.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve Vanessa Martinez for Fine Arts Coordinator at Del Rio High School.
For the recommendation, motion made by Ms. Overfeld, seconded by Ms. Maraz. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Item C, consideration to approve the position of Human Resources Information Systems Coordinator. Amy Childress.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve Abdana Jimenez for Human Resources Information Systems Coordinator.
For the recommendation, motion made by Mr. Galindo, seconded by Becky Chavez. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Item D, consideration to approve the position of Assistant Principal at San Felipe Memorial Middle School. Amy Childress.
It is the recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve Nelda Ortiz for Assistant Principal at San Felipe Memorial Middle School.
For the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion by Mr. Maraz, seconded by Mrs. Webb. All those in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item B, consideration to approve the position of Assistant Principal at Ceniza Hills Elementary. Amy Childress.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve Tanya De Leon for Assistant Principal at Ceniza Hills Elementary School.
For the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Becky Chavez, seconded by Mrs. Webb. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. There being no other items on the agenda, is there a motion for adjournment? Mr. Maraz, seconded by Becky Chavez. All those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you very much. Motion carries. Good night, everyone.
Not as late as it could have been.